In this episode, we're going to be speaking with Kirk, who's a full-time nurse, and talk about his $2,000 a month profit property. He's going to discuss the strategy behind how he overcame the fear of talking to landlords. We're also going to be breaking down one of his Airbnb listings and the thought process behind how it's helping him become a top performer. This was a super insightful conversation. I'm sure you're going to get a lot out of it. All right, so we're live. So Kirk, thanks for hopping on here, taking the time to explain, about your Airbnb journey. Super looking forward to talking about what you've been up to. I know you've been crushing it. So if you don't mind, just kind of giving some background on, maybe what you were doing before Airbnb, what made you want to get into Airbnb in the first place, and then we can take it from there.
Okay, yeah, sounds great. So my name is Kirk. I'm actually a nurse. Looking down the road, I've seen a lot of nurses. They're like older than me. They're in their 50s, 60s. So I kind of had that mindset where like, if I don't do anything differently from what they're doing, most likely I'm going to end up where they're at. 50, 60, still doing the same thing. I want to spend time with my family. I have 4 kids. My wife, she has 2 kids from a previous marriage. We have a 1-year-old, and we actually just have a 2-month-old right now. I guess my why I'm doing this is because I want more time with them. I want the time and freedom to actually be here for them, see them grow up. Basically, the goal is to get financially free.
Yeah, man. Love the background. Me having a kid as well, it's the same thing. Like once you start having kids, you start thinking differently. It's not just about you or your spouse. It's about how can I give, my kids the best life possible, spend more time with them, et cetera. So definitely resonates with, what I was thinking of when I got into, chasing this whole financial freedom stuff. So that's awesome. So what are some of the challenges? Let's just kind of hop into it. When you first started the business, can you, if you want to talk about, if you actually try to do Airbnbs yourself, other businesses, if you can give a little bit more background on that.
Well, I've always had that mindset where like, I got to do something. Basically make money while you sleep kind of thing so that I can have my financial freedom. Always had like a bunch of like thoughts about it, not really doing anything about it. Eventually, my wife was actually the one who kind of brought this idea. Hey, I have a friend that talked to me last night at work, and she's like, this is what she's doing. She's doing Airbnbs. Slowly, we were going through Instagram and whatnot. We found your channel, believe it or not. So I talked to, it was like around 2 o'clock in the morning. My wife was sleeping. I saw your basically your channel and about how like getting started, and I wanted there and then to actually like sign up, but then I had to wait for her because I need to talk to her about it. It's not about just me anymore. But yeah, so no experience at all with whatsoever in Airbnb. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
No, man, that's good. So obviously I'm not trying to break up any marriages here, but what are some of the main challenges that you face when you first started your Airbnb business?
Oh yeah, definitely. So not knowing anything about it at all. So basically everything from scratch, never started a business on my own. So there's a lot as far as information and going through it, as far as doing your classroom and stuff like that. I found that the most challenging is either landlord outreach and your research. So what I found was that initially I was trying to look at every single thing online as far as like what rules I can find if the city's doing this and doing that. And what I did find out after doing it so many times is that I'd rather just skip all that time, send either an email or a phone call and just go straight to them. Because like honestly, like as much as you don't want to call somebody and then that you can just look it up, it actually saves you a lot more times and you can get to the other areas of what you need to learn and actually go out and talk to people. Initially I don't like talking on the phone. I try to prevent that as much as possible, but this really got my feet wet. I remember in the beginning a lot of people were saying no as far as arbitraging their properties, but I saw that as more as of an incentive. Instead of actually making the phone call, I would go see out the property, talk to the owners, I would have talked to the property manager, and I would pitch them in front of me. And I know I remember messaging you in regards to like, hey, this came up, I didn't get the property, but slowly I'm developing like the skills to actually prepare me for the one that will say yes. On that day, I actually didn't want to go because I was so tired from work. My wife was like, no, this might be the one, go ahead and go talk to that person. So I did. Yeah, I just made it. I molded the script to myself. Basically, it makes you say things or tell them like something personal that makes you connect with them. That's basically what I did. And eventually I got to say, yeah, somebody said yes. And I was like happy about that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of really good nuggets of information that you shared there, right? Number one, I think that is one of the biggest challenges, right? Is a lot of people are introverts. they're not comfortable cold calling, talking to people. What is the main thing that helped you overcome that fear to, essentially talk to landlords and property managers to, essentially get over that hump? Like what are some things that you did to help you overcome that and then eventually get that yes?
Definitely, you have to have a strong goal, that purpose, that what you're doing. If it's not a strong enough goal, you're gonna be like, oh, never mind, I'm tired this day, or I don't feel like it. Also, I have a great partner, my wife. Like I mentioned earlier, I was like, I'm tired from work. I only had like 3-4 hours of sleep previously. And she's like, no, go out there. This might be the one. So somebody's actually pushing you, supporting you in what you want to do.
No, that's awesome. That's something that's so underrated in this business because I think a lot of the students have some sort of spouse or significant other that they're doing this with. And if that person isn't on board, kind of helping push you, because if you didn't go that meeting with that landlord, then you probably might not have a property and you'd be like, oh, this doesn't work. And there's so many different dominoes that fall into effect that don't recognize, that you don't realize if you don't have a really good partner. So that's great that you have a partner kind of pushing you. Some of the strategies that you used, I know you touched on some, but when you actually met with the landlord, and I know a lot of people don't have that luxury to go face to face, either because they're too scared or whatever. So what are some strategies that you use to talk to the landlord to convince, gain their trust and then eventually close the deal with them?
Well, like I mentioned, making it personal to you, because there we have that script, but if you make it more personal to you, like add in little bits and pieces of information that pertains to you, I think you'll be more comfortable instead of like, oh, trying to memorize a certain part, and then you get lost in it, and then now your mind's all scrambled, and you're trying to like fluster, and it's not being you. Be comfortable. And also in the beginning, when I was doing like phone calls, I was writing down things. I had like the paper in front of me and trying to like really almost verbatim kind of like read from it, but it doesn't show you the character. And at the same time, I would record myself so that you can see like, okay, there's a mistake there, it's this, it's that. So you can see like what you can improve on as well. So eventually went to the landlord. So when I did the pitch, I let them know like, hey, I'm a nurse. You have a great property here. And just really make them trust you. Be yourself. Because like honestly, if you yourself feel nervous inside, it's kind of flow out, or for some reason they're gonna see it. So the more that you speak about the truth about yourself and what you're doing, then it's gonna be, for me at least, it's a lot more smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, no, I love that because the script is there to help guide you in the conversation, right? It's not there to literally hold it in front of you and read off, right? It's there to kind of help you overcome different objections. And a lot of times, if you're nervous, then you might have a brain fart. You might not know what to say next. But I love that you essentially took the script, got the main points, and then essentially made it your own. And then, like you said, be personable, connect with it, because at the end of the day, we're all human, right? We like to do business with people that we like, and that's a huge way to build that rapport. Right off the bat, telling them that you're a nurse, and then going from there, because you might have the best pitch, you might have the best business model in the entire world, but if you can't convey that to someone, especially these landlords that we're talking to, then it's not going to work out. So love that. So you close a deal with them, and then from there, obviously, what was kind of your mindset or your game plan? I'm sure you did some research with the different competitors in your area. So what did you do to differentiate from the other competitors, within your specific area?
Well, just like definitely, this is part of research. So you gotta research your competition, right? So you go in the city that you would want, see the top performers there, and see what they're doing. Pretty much what they're doing that separates them from the rest. And aside from that, if you try to, I'd say either beat them or see what they're doing that you can also either improve upon or add something more to what they're already doing. So in my general area, I pretty much saw that most of the colors, they're just the neutral color farmhouse type of area here. So I try to get more by putting a little bit more color, things to make it pop. Definitely. So yeah, they're all actually in the classroom. If you actually go ahead and like touch points on every single one of them, it's actually all there. Their nuggets are all there. So we want to thank you for that. Definitely, that's the method that I followed in regards to that. And then also once you're live, being just like responding to messages as far as like when people are inquiring in regards to to your place. Sometimes when I would actually try to respond, I have to like don't respond right away because I want to think of what I'm saying in a more hospitable way so that it sounds nicer, I guess, if you're gonna say.
Yeah, I think it can be tough when you're dealing with guests and you have your automated messages and it says, how to turn on the hot tub lights like three times in your automated messaging, and they're still asking you, how do you do this? And so there are times where you kind of have to take a step back because at the end of the day, we're in a hospitality business and you don't want to anger your guests even more because obviously reviews are a huge part and a big lifeblood of this type of business. So I do like that you kind of take a step back and see how you can create this message because from the start of you answering their messages when they inquire about your property to the moment they check out, they're constantly judging you whether they know it or not. And so creating the best possible experience for them is huge. So I love that you kind of take a step back to make sure that you're responding in the right way. I actually have one of your listings pulled up. Do you mind if we kind of walk through maybe some of the pictures and some of your thought process behind you creating it?
No, definitely.
So all right, let's just kind of go through the photos. So what made you choose this photo out of all the other ones? If you want to kind of start with that.
Well, I wanted a sense where people can have an experience because everybody can stay at any Airbnb, but what really makes yours be set apart from everybody else? So I try to put like a little gathering area there where it kind of looks nice, where people actually want to spend the time there. We also have a little bit of the string lights there to kind of make it pop. And also a little bit of a thing where it has the jacuzzi in the back. So we feel like it has a good color contrast and also a place where people can spend their time on kind of relaxing. So that's why we picked that one.
Love it, man. And then, you guys did an awesome job with the professional photos because, this, like if you took this photo with like an iPhone, even if it's the best iPhone, it still might not have captured the essence of what you're trying to go after. So love that you have the professional photos, you even, set up the wine glasses, the arcade. This is, this is awesome. So yeah, maybe, talk about, cause like obviously the first 5 photos are huge to, really selling your property. So, can you talk more about your thought process behind, what made you choose these photos and maybe some of your ideas behind the actual design of it?
Yeah, and so we kind of had created kind of like a mid-century kind of like boho kind of theme. So we picked that because, like I mentioned earlier, that most of the people have like neutral colors with just farmhouse. So we wanted to really set us apart by having some little pops of color here and there, but also remain kind of like that it looks nice. Again, I want to reiterate that we wanted to have to show them like what kind of experience they will have, plus us also showing the space itself. So like having the dining room, having like where they're gonna spend most of their time. That's what we picked the first 5 photos.
Yeah. I mean, this is like textbook how you should create your listings, right? Everything just looks super clean. The design is really good, minimal simplicity. You have all these different amenities that you highlight. So, I mean, really great job. And you're really highlighting the main parts of this. I mean, this is this is awesome. The arcade, you're showcasing the games, especially, when it comes to the summer months. I might even, put these, or this is in California, so it's good weather all year round, probably.
Well, we're just having a lot of rain recently, but yeah, for the most part.
Oh, really? But yeah, I mean, once it comes, you can even try to bring some of these photos up to, really sell your property even more. We're always testing things to, see what works the best. And, one of the best ways to do that is changing up because these photos are all, awesome, beautiful. So really, really good job here on that. All right, man. So let's kind of talk about, what are some of your goals, within your Airbnb business, right? Are you looking to scale? If you want to talk a little bit more about, some of your goals here upcoming this year.
Yeah, so definitely we're looking at to scale. We want to either buy a house and do an Airbnb or just get a little more arbitrage. But for sure, we're actually looking already. So we're hoping that we can get another one by the end of the year, or at least 2 or 3 more. So far, it's been doing great. March, we have about 87% occupancy. And also looking at April, we're at 70%. So it's doing a lot, pretty well. And but yeah, so we're just looking around to see what will be a best or a best fit for us this upcoming year.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I mean, we hear a lot about the Airbnb bust and, people like scared, like, oh, we're not getting any bookings. But the way that I look at it is there's too many people that came into this business and didn't treat it like a business, right? They, just put some random furniture in. They try to take a few, photos from their potato and list it on Airbnb, and they're like, oh, like why aren't I getting any bookings? But it's because the cream always rises to the top, right? Once you start getting, more competitors into different markets. Obviously, the best photo, like your property, I'm not surprised you're getting those kind of numbers because like you saw it from the photos itself. They really sell the property. You have the amenities to compete. And so that's something that you've done really, really well, is really understanding the competition and then, adding one or two additional things on top of it, and then doing everything else that we talked about in the program to, make your listing the best possible listing. So, really, really good job on that, man.
I just wanted to add also, it's very important, I feel like, to have guesty in PriceLabs. That helps a lot. There's certain areas where like the automated messaging, when you're sleeping, it actually sends it to them. It boosts your like, on the algorithm on Airbnb. But what I did find really useful is when you do find that competitor around your area on PriceLabs, on the area where it says neighborhood data, it actually really helps. You scroll all the way down and you see compare competitors' calendar. So you pick those listings of your calendars around, I mean, to your competitors around the area. I think you could put like up to 10 listings. And then once you click on the get calendar, you'll see all their pricing. So in the beginning, it was really hard for us just because we didn't have reviews. We had people like threatening us like our listing is fake and stuff like that. And it was just a whole mess. In any case, eventually once you get that review, then that's when things starts to pick up. But yeah, so definitely I would look at the pricings of the competitors area. Initially, like even though that we can compete with the best, we had to price ourselves a little bit lower so that we can get that review first. Once we got that review, then we started to kind of like pick up on the pricing and also go with what PriceLabs they're helping me choose the base price option, and we can just go from there.
Yeah, no, that's really good stuff that you have in there. This business isn't just set and forget it, right? With the pricing, there's things that you have to tweak, whether that's photos, pricing, and then understanding your market and also your competition landscape, right? Because your new listing, it could be the best listing in the world, but obviously it needs time to get, gain favor in the algorithm. And so you really did that where you, priced yourself in a way to get some bookings initially. And then from there, once you start getting bookings, then you can start, charging higher rates with the competition that you feel that you should be able to get. So that's really good stuff, man. So what made you want to join the Airbnb roadmap? I know you said, you started kind of going through the content that I put out, but what kind of made you finally decide, okay, like I trust this guy. Let's just take a leap. And what made you kind of make that decision?
Well, honestly, like it's just I've always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to do something where, like I can spend more time with my family because that's my ultimate goal. And definitely with your content, I saw that your family is very important to you. You touch up on that quite a bit, and that you're having that freedom to do the things that you want. And real estate definitely like one of the most profitable, if not, they're saying that like 90% of millionaires have real estate. So you can't really go wrong with real estate just because most of them, that's what they're doing. So I took just the leap of faith and just, what, let's do it. I've been just thinking about a lot of different things on how to make this happen, but I never really have. Like that, I'm just like, let's do it. Like you said earlier, change your mind once you have kids. Before, I'm just like, whatever, I don't need to worry about that. I can just take care of that later. But once you have kids, it's a different mindset. You want to do as much as you can. You want to be a better person for them, and just ultimately like do everything that you can for them. So I just did that. Just did it. Went out of my comfort zone. So that's definitely very important. Just getting out of your comfort zone and just do it. Trust the process. And I've also been seeing a lot of like people, like let's say like on like magazines and stuff like that about how they have Airbnbs and how they're making this much cash flow. I'm like, you know what? Let's try it. If what are you gonna what do you have to lose?
Yeah, and that's one of the main things that I learned in just kind of business, financial freedom overall is if you don't take that leap of faith and at least stay consistent with it for, X amount of time, then nothing's going to work, right? Like I think there's all these different business models that you can try, but the people that I see struggle, and I've gone through this and I'm guilty of this as well, is trying to do like two or three things at once. But once you really dedicate, like pick a vehicle and then just go in at it and just be consistent, as you can see, like you can be very successful, and you're kind of a clear living proof of that. So, I mean, what are some of the ways that the program helped you achieve your goals, get that property up and running? Like, if you want to kind of talk into, some of those things.
Yeah, definitely. So it's nice that the videos, the classroom is like sectioned in little videos of YouTube here and there. Depending on where you are, you can just pick up, click on it. If you forget it, just go over the videos like repeatedly. You know, so those are the things that I've been like looking at, and also going online, kind of just like reading up on like I have like this Facebook group about like tips and tricks and stuff like that with what people do. So you hear a lot of different stories, but that shouldn't discourage you. If anything, it should once you read it, that you can be prepared if things like that was to happen to your place, how you can respond and things like that. But like I said, like yeah, the classroom definitely. If you're stuck on something, try to do it again. And the best part is that we have a lot of people that's like once you go in there, that you can ask questions, and they're there to help you out.
Yeah, and that's something that I love is the community, right? Because I'm still learning and growing with everyone, and people will present challenges or different solutions to different scenarios, and I'm like, oh, I never even thought about that. So having like-minded people actively in the business day to day, and and you're super active in the community as well, and putting your 2 cents in, and I see you commenting on other people, helping people, other people are helping you, and vice versa. But I think it's awesome having that like-minded individual in that community is something that I love being a part of, and everyone in there has been super great to work
Yeah,
with.
no, most definitely.
All right, so let's talk about. I know, like spending time with your family, that's a huge part. So once you got the property set up, like how much time per week are you spending? Like, are you self-managing, and then how much time per week are you spending on managing everything, the day-to-day stuff?
Well, since it's like my first one, I'm spending more time than I don't know, maybe some other people are. I just want to make things like right. I'm kind of like one of those people who kind of like I just want to do things like I'm picky and all that. Anyways, so the most I would spend on it is probably like maybe like 3 hours or so. Initially, in the beginning, I would spend a lot of time on it because I want to learn as much as I can, as fast as I can. But now that it's kind of like it's starting to self-sustain now, where I can just like okay, now I can look at other things, be more in like a management type of view where you can see everything and what you can do to improve on it. Because obviously in the beginning you want everything to be perfect, so your boots on the ground, you want to do all of that. But now I'm seeing a lot more different things. I'm going through like the Airbnb, kind of seeing picking up little tips and tricks on how to kind of like promote yourself a little bit better. And just kind of just using the system, using like Guesty, kind of clicking on here, trying to find out what this does. So you just kind of like learning from there.
Yeah, man. It sounds like you're kind of almost like perfectionist in a good way, where you're trying to absorb all the information, really use the things that you learn. Because I was the same way. Like I got obsessed. Like I have a very obsessive personality. So when I go all in on something, then I want to learn everything about it and then apply it, see if it works. I'm sure you're the same way, and it definitely sounds like you are. And then that way, for the future properties that you get, then you can know exactly what to do, what works, what doesn't. So love that you're a perfectionist in a good way to figure out what really works and what doesn't in this business. So I know people like to talk about cash flow numbers. So what is this property projecting for the year from like a total cash flow perspective?
Well, we went on a really conservative approach. I believe when I submitted the the numbers to you guys, we were projecting roughly about a cash flow about 2,000 a month. Um, so far, we're doing really well. As far as March is concerned, I believe our cash flow is about 5,500 for March. And then so far, for April, we're at 4,400 cash flow already. And we're
Wow.
70% booked for April. So very, very thankful, very blessed. And we're hoping to continue on with that for the rest of the year. And we're hoping to open up another Airbnb somewhere, maybe one or two by the end of the year.
Love it, man. I mean, that's the thing, because people always talk about, oh, like, why don't you scale to 50, units? Like, why don't you go to 75? And I'm like, if I can get like 5 to 8 properties that does the same numbers as a 50 unit portfolio, like I'm taking the smaller portfolio every single day of the week, right? Because, in this business, the more you scale, like, and with any business, right? The more you scale, the more headaches that come with it. And I personally really love the lifestyle that I'm able to live with the current properties that I have. And so, it just makes sense for me to be able to spend more time with my family. Obviously, everyone has different goals. If you're, 20 something year old and you basically just want to scale this thing to the moon, like you definitely can. But, that also, you have some sort of trade off from a lifestyle perspective. So, what are some of your goals? Like, do you want to scale this to 50 units, or are you kind of more along my path where you just want to get a handful and just kind of get to that financial freedom number, whatever that looks like for you?
Yeah, so definitely, like you mentioned it, you touched up on it. Less is better, but with quality. Um, the thing is, you don't want to be managing 50, 60, it's going to take up a lot of your time. Um, Sometimes, let's say you spend an hour maybe on a property, then 50, 60 of that, that'll take up your whole time. And that's my goal, is to actually spend more time with my family as opposed to less time with my family. So definitely remember why you started. Have a strong enough why. Why did you do this? And don't forget that. I mean, it can get really, tempting to get all the money out there all in the world, but I mean, family still. I mean, as far as for me, my purpose and what I wanted to do is spend more time with them.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. But I think we align a lot. And then I think a lot of people, obviously there are people in the group that want to scale this to, 50, 100 units, and that's great. But, a lot of the people that I've talked to personally are the ones kind of in our boats where they want to spend more time with family. They want to have more control of their time. And it doesn't take 40 to, 50 plus units to do that. Like you can literally get a handful of these and, be able to, essentially retire, which is something I love about this model. So, I mean, kind of let's talk about like your overall perspective on entrepreneurship. How, after joining the program, like how did that kind of impact your, outlook on life and like where you're looking, where you see yourself in the next, couple of years?
Yeah, no, definitely. It helped me a lot actually because I'm seeing it's opening up my eyes. I'm a person who loves comfort. And in order to get this done and my why, like I mentioned, I had to get out of my comfort zone. I had to do something because if I don't change anything, my life is going to be the exact same thing a year, 3, 5, 20 years from now. Um, so, yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I'm sorry, can you repeat on that question again? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, man, for sure. So what is just kind of your overall perspective on, entrepreneurship and where you see yourself in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so by doing this, now I'm actually reading books, trying to change my mindset and stuff like that. I'm not the type of person who really likes to read. But once I started this, I'm like, oh, it opened up my mind to a lot of different things. Why certain things? I'm questioning things a lot more instead of just going with the flow. So, like I said, I've been reading books lately. Believe it or not, I finished like 3 books in like 3 days. So I was like, okay, it's definitely changing me a lot, and really thankful about that by having a different outlook in life now.
Yeah, love it, man. So to just wrap this up, what advice do you have someone, either considering joining the program and just starting an Airbnb business for themselves? What's something that you would say to them?
Just do it. Take the leap. Just you'll see. I mean, there's a lot of people that's actually also doing this as well. You've seen it in magazines, this and that. Um, I'd say just like I said, just do it because you need to get out of your comfort zone in order to transform yourself into something that you want to be. So there's this thing that was that I saw or read, I forgot which one, but it's like picture yourself like 20 years from now. How does that person look like to you? Does that person like basically is doing the same thing that have been doing, or is he doing something differently from what you're doing now? So um, in order to change something, if you don't like where you're at, or if like I mentioned earlier, as far as being a nurse, I saw somebody like 20 years older than me doing the exact same thing. I don't want to be where they're at. I'm not like bagging on nurses because I am as well, but I don't want the lifestyle that they're living for myself because I want to spend more time with my family. So, in order for me to not be where they're at, I need to change something now.
Yeah, no, that's great stuff. Because like you said, mentioned it. If you keep doing the same things that you've been doing, like nothing's going to change, right? You have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to, take the leap of faith somehow in any sort of business. And I truly believe now, like I don't even think a side hustle income is a nice to have. I think it's a necessity, right?
Yes.
Because at any point, I mean, obviously nurses are way more stable than other professions, but we're seeing Facebook, Amazon, all these huge companies laying people off, and just like something that you have to take into consideration. Whether you're trying to achieve financial freedom or just trying to live a better life. So, okay, man, appreciate the time. Thanks for the insights that you shared. Anything
Of
else you
course.
want to talk about before we hop off here?
I just wanted to just kind of like mention about I guess Airbnb area, like a little tip, to kind of get a little bit more like I guess foot traffic. On the calendar, once you go to Airbnb, on the top right side, there's this promotions like how to list your place. A new way, it says a new way to promote your listing, and you can put like percentage off and stuff like that. For the closer bookings, I usually put like a little bit of like a 20% off, but you can offset that through PriceLabs. But the reason why I do this through Airbnb and not through PriceLabs is because they have some promotions where if you basically put 20% off for the certain dates, they send your placement in emails to guests. So when they see that through emails, they're gonna be like, "Oh, what's this?" And they'll click on it. You'll get more foot traffic on your listing, and it'll actually show like how many views that promotion that you did, how many it got. So I've been doing that as well. And also, as closer to the dates, I try to like do this a little bit more, so that not only does it have like a crossed line on your pricing, but it also gives them the feeling that hey, I'm getting a discount, I'm getting this. So that definitely helps. And if you want to also offset it, you can also, if you want, you can increase your price on PriceLab to offset that percentage off so that you're not missing on anything.
That's a really good tactical tip, just to increase your bookings. I know Tyler and Jenna implemented that, and they got like 5 or 6 bookings almost instantly. And so it all goes back to tweaking, perfecting your craft in anything that you do. And obviously, you're a great example of that. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, man.